Please welcome to the stage Angela Covert.
Gladys was a true horsewoman. She had an immense amount of respect for the horse, a great eye for a horse. And as a trainer, I'd have to say what stood out the most was that everyone had to learn horsemanship first. They got to ride, they got to compete, but first they had to do the barn work. I heard a story tonight about someone getting called back late at night because she found out that they had left sweat stains on their horse. And that was the kind of trainer and teacher Gladys was. She taught horsemanship first. That was the priority, and that was, the horse always came first. In December of 2003, my husband Mike and I purchased Pepinier Stables, and along with it, the St. Lazare Horse Show. We are under no illusion that our job hasn't been made so much easier because Gladys paved the way for us. There's constant reminders of her, from the chair with her name on it at the local restaurant to just an old client or an old friend that would stop by the barn just to say hello and introduce themselves and see the farm and some of the changes we've made. During the construction and the renovations, there would always be someone saying, well, what would Gladys think? And her name comes up so many times, all the time. People are always bringing her up, and we always think of her. So we're honored to carry on her legacy with the farm and with the horse show. Gladys took in many kids and took many teenagers under her wing to teach them horsemanship, to help them out with their problems. One of these teenagers was Chris Dobro Woods. She started out as a student with Gladys. She was a student and spent a lot of time at the farm, over 10 years. And over that time, she became a very good friend of hers. Chris, her husband Michael, and their daughter Ryan are here tonight. Chris will be accepting the award on Gladys's behalf. And I'd just like to mention that Ryan is Gladys's goddaughter. So I'd like to present the award to Chris Dobro Woods.
She was one of the last of the old school riders and teachers. The things she did, the things she taught. Most of you know what I'm talking about. Actually, as I've walked around, I've seen a couple of you old school riders still here. But anyways, fortunately, how many of you here actually knew or met Gladys? I know I was one of them, and I was also, how many of here were one of the people that were actually privileged to be yelled at by Gladys? I know there's a lot of us here too. Well, I was one of the fortunate people to have a close relationship with her. Not only that, she actually told me she loved me. And for a person as hard around the edges as Gladys was, that was something that was very special. She was a person that was there for me, and she was able to always set me straight when I was complaining about how things were or how I looked when I went in the show ring. She would always be there to remind me, what makes you think you're so important that anyone would care? But I knew she did. I knew she cared. It was just her way to show her affection. Gladys's introduction to horses came when she was a toddler on a pony named Ted. He was the first of a series of horses that joined in the family and enjoyed all privileges except the living room. Gladys's and Teddy's favorite pastime was going to the store and enjoying ice cream with the other kids. My, how things have changed today. After completing high school in Middleton, she attended Mount Allison University in New Brunswick, graduating with a Bachelor of Science in the spring of 1955. From Mount Allison, she obtained a teaching certificate and taught school until she married Captain Adams. They opened a riding school in Markham, Ontario, and continued it until they moved to St. Lazare. Well, after a few years in St. Lazare, she realized that her and the captain were not a match. With the help of Mr. Stoker and Mr. Turfloth, she moved down the road and started Pepinier Stables, and we all know the rest is history. Well, what would Gladys say about this award? Fortunately, this is the second time I can talk about Gladys, and she's in a position where she can't say anything about it. First of all, I know for a fact that we would have never gotten her in here. That's for sure. And I think she would say that she didn't deserve it, and don't make a fuss. However, I think that Jump Canada made an excellent choice. For truly, she was a great trainer, and I know that a part of her exists in all of you. When I went and buried her in Nova Scotia, there's the high school that she went to. They have, it's like they've turned it into a museum, and there's critiques about all the famous people that came from that little town. And I know that's where this trophy is going to end up. And I'd just like to tell you that I'm very honored to be here and accept this award on her behalf. Thank you.
Being inducted in the trainer category, Gladys Adam.